Hello, dear students. Welcome on this e-learning platform of Apex Institute of Physics. In this video, we are going to learn about dielectrics. What are the dielectrics? How they are influencing when they are present in the medium, and what happens when these dielectrics are placed in electric field. So all related stuff will be talking in this video lecture. So what these dielectrics are, if we want to talk about their definition, so we can define them as dielectrics refers to, or we can say it refers to non-conducting materials, non-conducting, or we can call insulating material, or we can simply say matter or substance. So non-conducting matter or insulating matter is known as dielectrics. In dielectrics, we will find very negligible or no free electron exist. So another point is negligible or almost no free electron is present in that matter, is present in them. So if the electrons are not freely available, then we know in that particular case there is no conduction of electrons. That means there cannot flow any current. So that type of material we call them as insulator as well as non-conducting, and hence they are also known as dielectrics. However, these matter which are having almost or negligible amount of free electrons, they can play important role. These matter can play important role when they are placed in an electric field. So another point comes with this is when a dielectric is placed in electric field. So let me write here, when such matter is placed in an external field, external electric field, then polarization takes place. Polarization takes place. Now we will discuss what this polarization is and how this polarization takes place. So the statement says these matters, that means dielectric, when the dielectric is present in an external field, so this field is because of some outside source, then we will find a concept called polarization takes place. Now when we talk about any matter, let me talk some general point. When we talk about any matter or substance or insulated substance, if we talk about, so we know this any matter is made up of like if we go inside, there's a nucleus, there's electrons, bounded electrons. Electrons can be free. If they are free, then becomes conducting. If they are not free, that is become insulating or non-conducting. So point is, if we talk about the nucleus, then there's going to be positive charge located in the nucleus. So we talk about the nucleus, that nucleus has a positive charge, and on the orbits there is a cloud formation. This cloud formation is of electrons. We know in a neutral matter the number of positive or the total positive charge is equal to the total negative charge. So there is a positive charge as well as there is a negative charge in each element of the matter, right? So these electrons are on the surrounding of the nuclei. They are covering, they are surrounding the nuclei, but they are distributed, like they can be thought of as a cloud forming around the nucleus. Later on you will learn these electrons are difficult to be localized where they are located, rather they are having a wave character Hence, they can be thought of uniformly charged distribution around the nucleus. Now, if we talk about something like if this is uniformly charged distribution, so the negative charge will be centered at somewhere in the center in many cases, right? So you will find basically what is happening for one single molecule uh, of any matter, or we can say talk about for single atom of a matter, you will find positive charge center will be at the center, and the negative charge center will also be at the center. Okay, so we can think of, since they are at, both are at the center, so there will be positive charge located q, let's say, and there's a negative charge also located at the same location that you can call as a minus q. So that means center of positive charge and center of negative charge for a molecule or for an atom can be overlapping. So this is one type of matter that we found. Another can be in which these two charge centers are separated by a certain distance. So based on that, we divide these matters or matter into two categories. One, they are called as a non-polar in nature, non-polar matter. Another is going to be known as a polar matter. Now you can connect the nomenclature with the concept that we are talking about. Non-polar are those in which positive charge center, that is positive charge of the nucleus, that means protons, and the negative charge center, if they are both overlapping to each other. So this will be non-polar. So at the same location you will find positive charge, and at the same location you will find a negative charge. So that's called polar, non-polar molecules, because they are not polarized. For instance, example of polar substance or matter is like oxygen, nitrogen, right? So if you talk about the oxygen, both are oxygen atoms, so these atoms will be behaving like this. Moreover, polars are in which the positive charge center is different location and negative charge center is at a different location. So if they are at a different locations, then you'll find it is going to create a dipole. We know because a dipole is a collection of or arrangement of a positive charge and a negative charge. So from negative towards positive, this will be forming a electric dipole P. So that means polar molecules, they create uh, electric dipole, whereas the non-polar molecules like oxygen, nitrogen, they are not going to create any polarization. So for example of this polar case, so let's talk about example. If we talk about HCl, let's say, so we'll say H will be a positive center, Cl will be a negative center, and there will be a bond distance. So this will be behaving like a polar. Similarly, if we talk about H2O, so it will be O. We know that there is a H and there is another H. So this is a positive center, this is a positive center, and this is going to be negative center. So basically it will be combining two dipoles and ultimately will have a one resultant dipole. Whereas in the case of non-polar molecules, you will find like this is oxygen, this is oxygen. So this will have a overlapping plus and minus charges. This will have a overlapping plus and minus charging. So there will be no dipole creation. So point is, in polar molecule, there is going to be electric dipole of the molecule. Whereas in case of non-polar molecules, there is going to be zero electric dipole due to a molecule. So non-polar molecule have a no dielectric or no electric dipole, whereas the polar molecules, they have an electric dipole, and that can be thought by taking the centers of positive charge as well as negative charge. Okay, let me summarize what I'm trying to tell you in the definition of dielectrics. Dielectrics are basically non-conducting insulating matter in which almost no or negligible amount of free electrons are available, so that they cannot behave like a conductor. However, when these dielectrics are placed in an external field, the concept called polarization takes place. So these are the points that we talked about in a definition. And then we were talking about what types of matter are. Matters are consist of two types of molecules. One type of molecules are like oxygen and nitrogen, in which you can say they are not polarized. Since they are not polarized, we can call them as a non-polar molecule. And another type of molecules are like HCl and H2O. So in this case you will find H plus and Cl minus, they are going to have a separate charge centers. So it will be behaving like this electric dipole. So that means HCl molecule will have an electric dipole running from Cl to H. Okay, and similarly H2O will have a two electric dipole. One will be in this way, another will be in this way. Then the resultant is going to be somewhere there. So point is, polar molecules are going to have electric dipole, whereas non-polar molecules are going to have a zero electric dipole. We can also call the electric dipole moment for this is zero, because the length is zero, because the positive charge center and negative charge center, they are overlapping. Understood? Now, this is the story of one molecule that we are talking about. What happens in the matter? So matter is consist of several amount of or several number of molecules. So those molecules are going to create net electric dipole. Now you can say in non-polar cases, since non-polar cases there is a zero electric dipole for a particular molecule. Hence the electric dipole for entire matter is going to be zero. Whereas in case of polar molecules, there is existing dipole moment for a single molecule. And then what is going to be the net electric dipole for entire matter, that's what we are going to talk about. So let's go for the next slide. Well, here is a picture that going to describe about the dielectrics. So this is in this row we are talking about the non-polar materials, molecules. In this we are going to talk about the polar one. Now, let's say we are talking about the dielectric. So this is representing a medium, which is a dielectric, which is a non-conducting, and the field is absent. That means E is zero. So there is a no field is existing. So we know a single molecule is going to have a zero dipole. So if you talk about dipole moment or electric dipole moment of any molecule, it is going to be zero. And we know there are going to be very large number of molecules present over here. So if we try to find what the net electric dipole moment is going to be, so we say net electric dipole moment is going to be summation of electric dipole moment of each molecule, and we know each molecule is going to have a zero electric dipole moment. Hence net electric dipole moment will become zero. That means this material will have no net electric dipole moment. Hence this material will not have any influence or any creation of electric field, because its dipole moment is zero. However, let's talk about how the polar molecules are going to behave. We have just talked about in polar molecules there exists an electric dipole. So this plus center and this minus center is indicating one electric dipole is here, another electric dipole moment is here, another another electric dipole moment is here. So there are dipoles, several dipoles are going to be there. Again, in this case also we are going to calculate the net electric dipole moment. So that is written as summation of electric dipole moment of individual molecule. And this has to run from I is equal to 1 to very large number, and n is going to be very large number, because we know even a very small sample of dielectric material is going to have a very large number of molecules. We know 1 mole consists of equal to 1 Avogadro number, which runs to 10 raised to power 23. So if it is a very small sample, you'll find there's going to be very large amount of molecules existing, and for those large amount of molecules we need to sum all the electric dipoles. Now since they are randomly distributed, you can see the direction of this, then the direction of this, so this distribution is totally random. Whenever there is a random distribution of large number of vectors, the sum is always zero. So that's another important point. Whenever there are large number of vectors which are randomly oriented, their vector sum is going to be zero. So you'll find in absence of electric field, the dipole moment of non-polar molecules as well as polar molecules, for both it comes out to be zero. But the scenario changes when we place the dielectric in an electric field. So this time electric field is present, and let's say that electric field is pointing in the positive x direction. This is the external field. Now in this external field, this particular sample will behave like this. That means this will get polarized. How the polarization will taking place, that means we can think of in non-polar molecules. You remember why this dipole electric dipole moment was zero. This was zero because the positive charge center and the negative charge center, they were at the same location. So the positive charge center and the negative charge center, they were at the same location. But if you applied a field in this direction, then you'll find the force on the positive charge will be acting in this direction, whereas the force on the negative charge will be acting on this direction. So these two forces will try to distort that molecule and try to separate their charge centers. Hence, they will try to create the separation between the two, right? That means if you apply the field here, so plus q charge being is going to be pulled in this direction by electrostatic force, whereas the minus charge is going to be pulled in this direction by electrostatic force. Hence, after a certain time, you'll find minus charge will get separated from the plus charge. That means now the separation between the two will become non-zero. Since the separation between the two become non-zero, so this will effectively going to behave like an electric dipole. So there's going to be creation of electric dipole. So even non-polar molecule will get an electric dipole moment. And this is because of the distortion due to application of electrostatic force in opposite direction on the plus and minus charges. Moreover, these dipoles that are going to be created, they will be aligning themselves in the direction of field. So you'll find these electric dipoles are going to be aligned in such a fashion that they are going to be in the direction of field. So if this is the direction of field, electric dipole will also be in this direction. Okay, so you will find all the dipoles, they are going to get aligned in this manner. Since they are going to get aligned in this manner, then you will find that the net electric dipole moment now will not be zero. This will not be zero. That means this will have net electric dipole moment, right? So that means it has been now polarized, you can think of. Now if this kind of polarization is going to take place, for that sake the direction of field has to be changed. So let's say direction of field that has been applied in this way, then we will be having this matching one. So electric field, in the direction of electric field, you are going to get the electric dipole coming in. So there's going to be electric dipole in nutshell. In which type of molecules? In non-polar molecules. I hope it's making sense. Now what happens in the polar molecules? In the polar molecules, these dipoles were randomly oriented, and you have applied the field this. Now we say, let's talk about a dipole was in this direction prior to applying the field. So that's a dipole, let's say, and we have applied the field in this direction in the later on case. If you applied the field on this direction, you remember whenever a dipole is present in an external field, there acts a torque that tries to reorient the dipole in the direction of field. So what this field is going to do, that is going to reorient this electric dipole in the direction itself, or that means in the direction of field itself. So all the dipoles which were randomly oriented will try to reorient themselves in the direction of field. Hence these dipoles are going to be reoriented in this direction, and this is the direction of the applied external field. So again you will find in this case the net electric dipole moment will not be zero. So that means polar molecules will also have non-zero net electric dipole. Non-polar molecules will also have non-zero net electric dipole moment, and this will be occurring when the external field is applied. In absence of field, you find both will have a zero dipole. So that's the crux point that we need to remember, and that says a dielectric will have zero electric dipole whether the molecules are polar or non-polar in absence of field. Whereas in presence of field, both will get polarized and both will have non-zero net electric dipole moment. Now, since electric dipole moment is non-zero, then we will say this material or this dielectric has get polarized. So this phenomena is called polarization. So polarization is phenomena by which you can find a net electric dipole moment becomes non-zero in presence of electric field. Making sense? So that is how polarization takes place, and this is happen for both non-polar molecules and polar molecules. What to remember is the process of getting polarization for non-polar molecules are different as compared to polar molecules. In polar molecules, dipoles were existing initially and they just have got reoriented. Whereas in case of non-polar molecules, initial dipole was zero and this field created the dipole and reoriented to create non-zero net electric dipole. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the formula of polarization. So polarization is a concept, and this polarization is denoted by P vector, capital P vector for polarization, and its definition is it is the net electric dipole moment per unit volume. So if I write in short, it is written as P as a vector, polarization vector is equal to net electric dipole moment, net electric dipole moment per unit volume. That means if we consider 1 unit volume of material or matter or dielectric, then we see how much the total electric dipole moment is in that unit volume. That particular quantity is known as polarization. So polarization can be written as net electric dipole moment per unit volume. So that becomes the formula, and this formula has to be remembered for polarization. Fine. Now here if we talk about the unit of this, so we can also talk about what the unit is going to be. Definitely this is a vector quantity, so since it's a vector, its direction is going to be in the direction of net dipole moment vector, and its unit is going to be, can you find out the unit? I hope you can. Unit of dipole is written as a charge, that is coulomb, into length, that is meter, and volume is written as a meter cube, which will be simplified to coulomb per meter square. So coulomb per meter square is the unit of polarization. Sometimes very simple question has been asked in the examinations. They ask what is the unit of polarization, or the unit of polarization is similar to which physical quantity. Then we can say it's a coulomb per meter square, which is also the unit of what? Which is also the unit of surface charge density. So this has the same unit as surface charge density, same unit as of sigma. Sigma is a surface charge density. So polarization has the same unit as that of surface charge density, which is coulomb per meter square, and it is defined as the net electric dipole moment per unit volume. And this net electric dipole moment that we have just talked about is going to be existing in electric dipole moment in dielectrics only if there is external field is acting, right? That means, can we say in dielectrics polarization will takes place only if there is field is existing from outside. If the field from outside is zero, no polarization, whether this is a polar molecule or whether this is a non-polar molecule or material. So polarization, or for polarization to take place, there has to be field existing externally, because that field is going to create net electric dipole moment. Making sense? So that's important physical quantity we need to keep in mind. If somebody asking what the polarization is, you say this is the statement and this is the formula. Now if you have understood this point that we are discussing in this video, this polarization has been used for two purposes. One purpose was to define the process. So polarization is a process. Polarization is a process. That means which process? Process of segregating positive charge with a negative charge. That's also called polarization. And polarization is this definition. That means polarization is a physical quantity as well as a process. So you need to keep in mind whenever the polarization term is being used, whether it is used by whether it is used for counting as a physical quantity or as a process. So earlier in the previous slide that you have seen, that was the process of getting polarized. That means polarization was the process. In this particular slide, we are talking about polarization as a physical quantity. Make sense? Now let's move further. Now after learning what the dielectrics are and how the polarization takes place, now let's talk about dielectrics in a capacitor or inside a capacitor. This will be serving as an example for that purpose. So let's say we are having a parallel plate capacitor. So this is a plate 1, this is a plate 2, and the charge on this plate is let's say this is Q0 charge, which is positively charged. This plate is a negatively charged, and this charge is Q0. So this capacitor had Q0 charge, and we have inserted this dielectric inside these two plates. That means inside the capacitor this dielectric medium has been present. Now this dielectric medium, since this is dielectric medium, and we have given the charges to the plates. Now if we give zero charge to the plates, then this dielectric will behave just like a material inside and no polarization will take place. But if the capacitor is charged, that means Q0 charge has been given there, then we will know that there is going to exist a field. The field will be running from minus charge to plus charge. That is from plus Q0 to minus Q0. Let's say that is field due to charges on the plates, and it is E0. So this E0 is going to behave like external field. And since this field is external, so this field is going to create polarization on these or on this material, and this polarization will be such that it will try to create a dipole or electric dipole in the direction of the field that we have applied. So there is going to be P coming in net cell. So net electric dipole will be appearing in this way, which we can say as for the charge distribution is concerned, we can say this is going to have a charge distribution some sort of this. That means here you will have a collection of positive charge. So inside the material, these charges are not free, but they have been shifted or polarization has taken place. So this plate portion of the material, this is going to behave like a collection of positive charges, and this is going to behave like a collection of negative charges. Hence we can say an effective electric dipole moment is existing from here to there. So to create this electric dipole moment, we can think of this electric dipole moment is creating the polarized charges plus this side, negative this side. Mind it, these charges are inside the material because these charges cannot leave the material in normal conditions, right? So I'm removing this P, and we can think of the charges are going to come on this side as well as on this side. Now how the charges are coming, if you look carefully, you'll find plus charge is coming close to the negative charge plate, minus charge is coming close to the positively charged plate. Now these charges which has appeared here, we call them polarized charges. So we will say this charge is QP plus QP, whereas this charge is minus QP. Now QP, P for polarized. So this is QP polarized, and this is QP polarized. Minus polarized charge is close to the plus charge on the plate. Positive polarized charge is close to the negative charged plate. This is how this polarization takes place. Now if you relate it with this, since this dielectric has been filled completely inside the capacitor, these two black lines are indicating the plates. So this dielectric is in a three-dimensional. So that means this plus charge is also going to be similar to the one distributed on a plate or on a face. Since it is on the face or plate, that means it's going to behave like a plate or charge distribution on a plane sheet. Now this is going to behave a charge distribution on another plane sheet. That means this itself is going to behave a collection of two parallel plates. Hence you will find this will create its own electric field, just like due to a capacitor. So that means there's going to be an electric field because of this polarized charges. So inside you'll find a polarized field is going to be generated, and that will be running from plus charge towards minus charge. So this field is going to be field because of polarization, and this polarization field is coming because of the field existing from externally, that means because of the charge on the capacitor. Now if we talk about what the exactly or what the net field inside the material or inside the capacitor is, that net field will be counting the original field, that is because of original charges, and the polarized field that is coming because of polarized charges. Making sense? So can we say the net field is going to be sum of these two fields that is existing simultaneously inside. So here we can write, if we have inserted a dielectric inside a parallel plate capacitor, and the capacitor had initial charge Q naught, then there's going to be some polarized charges, and these polarized charges are going to create a polarized field, right? So let's assume E is indicating net field inside the capacitor. So this is net field, net electric field inside the capacitor, inside capacitor. So what this net field now will be equal to? Can we say this net field is going to be equal to field that was created originally because of the charge on the plates plus the field coming because of polarization. Now if you look this expression carefully, so what the new thing is coming in this expression that we need to think about. So the new thing that is coming in this expression is basically the EP, that means field because of polarization. Earlier, if there was no material inside, that means no dielectric was there, then the total field inside was the same field that was because of the parallel plates. Now with the, due to the presence of this dielectrics, the field inside the capacitor is not only because of the charges on the plates of the capacitor, it is also influenced by the field created by polarization. So that's the effect of polarization that happens in a dielectric in presence of external field. Now we can say surely if E naught becomes 0, EP will be 0, hence E will be 0. That means if we don't give any charge to the plates, there will be no polarization, no field existing. So everything is coming because of the charged capacitor. Making sense? Now we can go ahead and talk about what this E naught and what the EP is. Now to make life simple or things very simpler, we define a particular constant that's called dielectric constant. Dielectric constant. This dielectric constant is written by K. Now this should not be confused by the K that is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. No, this is K for dielectric constant. And this simply defined as this is the basically comparison between the net field and the field that we have applied. So it says it's a ratio of the original field that we applied magnitude wise. I'm writing this way, I have to write K. So dielectric constant K is the ratio of magnitude of original field and the net field that we are getting finally after this polarization. So this dielectric constant is defined as the ratio of magnitude of original field and the net field that we are getting inside it. Now we can go further and we can talk about relation between these charges and other stuffs or field with this K. Now if I take this a bit further, this formula, we know the direction of E naught and direction of EP are opposite. So can we say E is going to be equal to, in the direction of E naught, you will find E naught is going to be a larger value and EP is being created because of presence of E naught. So EP is naturally going to be smaller because this polarized charge is naturally going to be smaller in a dielectric. So you will find it's going to be E naught minus EP. Now from here you can think of the magnitude of E is going to be less than the magnitude of E naught. That means E naught is bigger and E is smaller in general. So we can say since E naught is greater than or equal to E. Now equality will occur only if EP is 0, right? So otherwise E naught is going to be greater than E. So if this is the case, from here we can conclude something, that the magnitude or the value of this K is going to be greater than or equal to 1. So K is always going to be greater than or equal to 1. It cannot be less than 1. That's the point. So if sometime it's asked what the K value is, so we can keep in mind K has to be either equal to 1 or greater than 1. Now EP will be 0, or this 1 occurs only if this EP is 0. That means there is no material. That means from here we can further have some conclusion, that conclusion is this: K is equal to 1 for vacuum. That means if there is no matter available, then only you will find no polarization will take place and K will be 1. Which basically means in vacuum K is equal to 1. Now, though for air it's not 1, but we consider it to be 1. In ideal condition, we consider air is behaving just like a vacuum as far as this polarization is concerned. So for air also we take as a K is equal to almost equal to 1, but it is for vacuum. Okay, and that means for in general you will find K is greater than 1 except these things. Anyway, once we have defined this K dielectric constant, this dielectric constant will make things easier and will help us to formulate some important formulas. Now, if we use the value of E from here and use on this another, that means we are having basically two relations. One relation is this, another relation is this. If we solve these two relations simultaneously, then we can find out EP, that means polarized field, in terms of the original field. So let's put the value of E from the second in the first. So using 1 and 2 together, we will find it's going to be E naught by K as equal to E naught minus EP, which will be equal to, that means we can write it as EP is equal to E naught inside a bracket 1 minus 1 by K. So if the dielectric constant given to us or known to us, then we can easily find out what will be the polarized field if the original field is known to us. So that also becomes an important expression or formula, you can call it. Or we can also say this is the direction as well, that means in vector format. Because in vector format there's going to be negative because EP is in opposite direction. So let's keep the direction separate, and this is indicating the magnitude. So magnitude of polarization field is equal to original field into 1 minus 1 by K, and this. Now if K is 1, then you'll find EP will become 0 for air. Otherwise K will decide what the polarized field is going to be. Making sense? Moreover, we also know this E naught because of this polarized or because of this capacitor, the field inside. Since we know E naught is equal to Q naught upon A epsilon naught, right? Similarly, can we say EP polarized field is also going to be equal to polarized charge divided by A for area epsilon naught, because that's also behaving like a capacitor. So E naught can be written as in terms of Q naught. Similarly, EP is written as in terms of QP. By writing this, I'm indicating that if we know the value of EP, we can also find out the polarized charge. So sometime you might be asked, what is the polarized charge on the dielectric? We can find out the polarized charge using this formula because EP has been calculated. So that means if we put the value of EP over here, E naught over here, then you'll find Q naught will be coming here, A epsilon will get cancelled out. So another formula that will be coming for us is polarized charge or polarization charge is going to be equal to the original charge that you have given in the capacitor in bracket 1 minus 1 by K. That means once the K, the dielectric constant, is known to us, we can easily find out using this formula what the polarized charge is going to be. So once the dielectric constant is known to us, we can find out important physical quantities or important quantities which are involved over here. We can find out the polarized charge on the this dielectric. We can also find out the polarized field, right? So this is how the dielectric behaves inside a capacitor. So let me sum it up quickly and then move ahead. So we were talking about the dielectrics in a capacitor. So this was the capacitor which was charged. Because of charge there was field. Because of this field, this dielectric material gets polarized. So plus charge accumulates close to the negative charge plate. Negative charge accumulates close to the positive charge plates. The fields can be written like this. Then after, net field inside the capacitor. Net field inside the capacitor will be sum of these two fields. Since they are in opposite, so we are going to place the minus to get the magnitude. And we define the dielectric constant as the ratio of the original field divided by the net field. And net field is going to be smaller, original is going to be larger, hence K is going to be greater than or equal to 1. 1 is for vacuum, we also consider it for air. And using these two equations, we have found out the polarized field as well as polarization charge or charge polarized. Now, if this dielectric is absent, that means it is a vacuum. So that's one extreme. Now, if this dielectric, it becomes conducting material. So if it has become conducting, that means it is metallic plate or metallic medium inside. So that means we know, okay, in metallic medium, if this was let's talk about this. If this is a plus Q naught, then this must be minus Q naught. That means QP must be equal to Q naught. So in case of metals, you find both the charges. That means polarized charge is equal to original charge. This polarized charge, they're called as induced charge. That means QP and Q naught becomes equal. If QP, Q naught are equal, then you can find out what the K should be. K should be infinite. So one more value of K we can remember. That means K is equal to very large. That means K infinity. If we say K is very large, that means K tending to infinite. This is true for metals, that means for conductors. So for metals, one can ask what is the value of K for metal, then you say the value of K for metal is infinite. So if we place the K as infinite, you will find that is for metals or for conductors. So for conductor it's infinite, for vacuum it's 1, for other materials it is greater than 1 and it goes up to infinite. Making sense? So that's important information, and you can write it down, make your notes, understand. If there's a doubt, you can always ask. Let's consider the same figure where the parallel plate capacitor, Q naught charge minus Q naught, then this is going to be positively polarized charge, this is going to be negatively polarized charge. And let's talk about how things get changed, because we know the capacitance gets changed when there is a medium inside. So original capacitance, let's say, of this material is C naught. So C naught is original capacitance, that means without dielectric. So let me write here, let C naught is capacitance without material or without dielectric, is without dielectrics. So we know there is a formula for C naught. What that C naught is going to be equal to, it should be equal to A epsilon naught by D, where D is the gap. So D is the separation between the plates that we are counting. So this is indicating D. Well, okay, let me mention what the D is. So this is D. D for this gap between the plates we have talked about earlier in the capacitance. And now let's say new capacitance is C. So let C is capacitance or new capacitance with dielectrics, new capacitance with dielectrics. So we will be understanding how this capacitance changes because of the medium. So we know whenever we are looking for the capacitance, we talk about a relation between V and Q. Q is equal to CV. That's formula we follow for capacitance calculation. So we are going to use this formula here as well. Let me write properly. Q is equal to C into V. That we are going to use. Now, first of all, we need to calculate the V. Now we know what the V is. V is written as the potential difference. It goes to equal to minus integration E dot dl from one location to another location, right? In this case, in the parallel plate capacitor, we have talked about the field inside is constant. Whenever the field inside is constant, it can be easily written as the net field into D for the gap, and D is given to us. Net field we have calculated. Since we know what the net field is, net field can be written as in terms of dielectric constant as E naught by K. So that could be written as E naught by K into D. Then we can further move ahead and say this potential difference is E naught. Definition of E naught. E naught is written as charge, which is Q naught upon A epsilon naught. That's the value of E naught, and with this there was multiplication of D by K, so that's a D by K. Now if from here we want to write what the Q naught is, so Q naught can be written as A K epsilon naught divided by D into V. If we compare this formula with the formula or basic formula this, then whatever the bracket stuff is, that becomes the C. So the capacitance C will become equal to A, or we can write it as a K separate, A epsilon naught by D. Now you can remember this A epsilon naught by D is the original capacitance. So we can claim from here the new capacitance after dielectric insertion is equal to K times original capacitance. So you will find that the capacitance changes whenever there is insertion of dielectric constant. So if the dielectric constant has been inserted, which has or dielectric has been inserted which has a dielectric constant K, then the capacitance becomes K times C naught. K times C naught. And how the potential has changed, you can remember this is the potential. Potential has changed as this now become K A epsilon by potential is written over here. So potential is equal to E naught D by K. So you can remember the potential has changed as a original potential divided by K. And how the field has changed, you remember the field has changed by factor K. So what can be asked in examination, or what is important to learn, is when the dielectric is inserted, what happens to the field inside. So we have talked about what happens to the field inside, right? We say inside field gets changed like original field divided by K. What happens to the potential? Potential becomes also original potential divided by K. What happens to the capacitance? It becomes K C naught. So these are the changes that we need to remember whenever a dielectric is inserted, inside a capacitor. Now more point is here, this particular case is when we have assumed that the capacitor had charge Q naught. So charge Q naught was on the capacitor, and this capacitor was not connected with the battery. That means these changes will be valid if the charge on the plates of the capacitor remains constant. That means you have not connected it with the battery. Mind it, by insertion of dielectric inside the capacitor, charge on the capacitor does not change unless you connect it with the battery. Right? So what this dielectric does, this dielectric gets polarized and the charge of the dielectric remains with the dielectric itself. And that influences the field inside the capacitor. This does not influence the charge on the plates. Charge on the plates will be influenced by the external battery. If you connect with the battery, then this charge will be changing, right? So we can say charge conservation on plates. We can say the same charge remains on the plates, and this charge will be changed only if you connect it with a battery. Making sense? Now let's talk about dielectric strength and dielectric breakdown. These are the two terms associated with dielectrics whenever this dielectric is present in external field E naught. So let's consider the same figure that we have used earlier. This is a charge capacitor. These are the polarized charges. This is the external field. This is the polarized field. Because of all this, you will find there is going to be some resultant field is coming in this direction. Let me use a different color for that purpose. So resultant field is in this direction. So that's a final field, and that field is E. So that's a net field in the or between the capacitors, or in the dielectrics we can call it. Now this field, if we increase the charge on the capacitor, let's say, then the value of E naught is going to increase, and then we can say the value of E is also going to be increased, or we can say the polarization, the magnitude of polarization is dependent on E naught. So larger the E naught, more the polarization. And now how this polarization is taking place, that means you can say these positive charge, this QP charge, these charges are being pulled in this direction by force called QP into E naught, and these negatively charged polarized charge is being pulled in this direction by QP E naught. That means if we increase the value of E naught, then the more charge gets polarized, and they will be more pulled in the outward direction. These charges have appeared on the surface. Now they are being again pulled outward the surface. So if E naught is kept on increasing, then the force is going to be increasing on these polarized charges. Now these these charges will remain on the surface because they will be pulled by the material inside. Now if this force, that is we are using to pull them out, if this force becomes more than the strength of the material, or more than the strength holding these charges, these charges may leave the surface of the dielectric. And if they leave the surface of the dielectric, that means they become free. Once they become free, that means they become conducting, right? So these two terms that we are going to talk about, they are related with this. That means if we increase the external field, then the forces on the polarized charge increases, and after a certain value of external field, those charges may leave the molecules, or the charges may leave the material, or they may become free. Once they become free, they will be moving. That means they will become conducting, right? So this phenomena in which they become conducting is called dielectric breakdown, and that field at which this happens is known as dielectric strength. So let me in short write what this means. It simply says, if external electric field that we applied is increased, then, I'm writing in short, you can catch it, then pulling force or removing force increases on the polarized charge, then force on polarized charges increases. Next point, we can say, after a particular value of E, particular value of E naught, charge may break out from the material. Charge may break out. Which charge we are talking about? Polarized charge. Polarized charge may break out from the material or from the dielectric. If it breaks out, then you will find it becomes free, right? So after a particular value of E naught, charge, polarized charge may break out or will break out from the dielectric. This particular phenomena is known as dielectric breakdown. So this is known as dielectric breakdown. So dielectric breakdown is basically the situation or the condition in which these bounded charge will start flowing. And this minimum, a particular value of E naught is known as dielectric strength. So next point can cover it. That particular value of E naught is known as is known as dielectric strength of the dielectric or material. Dielectric strength. You can connect it. Why we are calling it as a dielectric strength? There is a reason behind. Dielectric strength is, that means the strength of the material up to which it can handle or it can maintain itself in presence of external field. Right? So if the external field becomes more than that particular value, then the dielectric breakdown will take place. So to avoid the dielectric breakdown, how much electric field can be uh, handled or can be withstood by the material is known as dielectric strength. Right? So dielectric breakdown is a condition in which the charge, bound charge, or polarized charge starts moving, and at particular field at which this happens, that particular field is known as dielectric strength. Okay, so these are the 2 points, and that could be understood. One example that you can relate with this is lightning. So during rainy seasons, you see lightning. Lightning is a good example of it. How it is? So let me explain in short. In lightning, we see light is falling down towards the earth, uh, whereas we know in atmosphere there is air. Air is basically oxygen and nitrogen. So this is basically dielectric. Air is dielectric. So that means in dielectric charge cannot move easily because it is non-conducting in nature. But what happens? Let's say this is Earth, and this is higher altitudes. So here, because of charging, there is a different gets created a potential difference. Because of the potential difference, there gets created a field, and because of that field, this external field is there. So air is behaving like a medium, and this medium is air is present in the field. If the potential difference between the earth and these upper zones, if it is increasing, then you will find the field is going to increase, external field is increases. Beyond one limit, if the external field increases, then the molecules from the oxygen molecules or nitrogen molecules or from the air, the electrons becomes separated. That means polarized charge now becomes free. Now once this polarized charge becomes free, then that charge starts moving. That means air starts behaving like a conductor. How this is behaving like a conductor? Because it has allowed the charge to leave the molecules of air, and that is because of the strong electric field. So this lightning that occurs is basically movement of charge or basically movement of electrons, and these electrons are moving in the air because air has undergone dielectric breakdown. This is because higher potential difference between the higher altitude and earth. Right? So this lightning is an example of dielectric breakdown, and the maximum field up to which the air can withstand is known as dielectric strength. So this was about dielectric strength, dielectric breakdown. In this video we have talked about what the dielectric is, its definition, how polarization takes place, what the polarization is, and then how the capacitance changes when the dielectric comes inside, Kc that you talked about. And then we have talked about another aspects like dielectric constant, dielectric strength, dielectric breakdown. It's an important video. Do make your note, keep on watching. If you have doubt, you can comment on the comment section. Thank you for watching. Have a great time.